Hey everyone, so this is going to be a really good overview of the new Uplevel Systems 3.0 firmware release. So this will be a really good overview of all of those different features, functionality, both front end and back end.
The 3.0 release includes an IPS IDs throughput increase, dashboard sorting, reporting, additional IP address configurations, dynamic DNS features, firewall statistics, firewall rules libraries, and the ability to disable access point radios on a per band basis, as well as now a 5 terabyte NAS option.
All of the features that you'll hear me talk about today are included in 3.0 release firmware. So what that means is that there's no additional hardware. It's the exact same hardware that you had. As soon as that hardware is upgraded to 3.0 and has the new firmware image on it, you'll see all of these new features available.
Keep an eye out on your email to see when your upgrading window is. Once that happens, you can then plug in the gateway at any point to download that new firmware image. It'll take about 30 minutes for the gateway's firmware to then update itself. If the gateway is at a customer location, don't worry. The gateway will only be offline for about 3 to 5 minutes while it reboots. So if customers are passing traffic, all of that traffic will go through with just a slight glitch of about 3 to 5 minutes. Just be mindful not to power cycle the gateway while it's upgrading. Once that gateway is fully refreshed on the new firmware image, you'll then see all of these new features in the dashboard.
First and foremost is going to be the IPS IDs throughput increase. So with 3.0, we've now introduced multiple instances of IPS IDs inspection. What that means is we're now inspecting multiple packets at the same time, which increases the overall throughput. One thing to know about multiple instances of IPS IDs is that your normal speed test won't necessarily reflect the overall throughput of the network now. One thing to be really mindful of is that you actually need more than one computer running a speed test at the exact same time to thoroughly actually test the multiple instances of IPS IDs, because what we're doing is inspecting multiple computers' packets at the exact same time. So you actually need two computers sending data at the exact same time to get the overall throughput of the entire network. But what that means is that before, you were able to see about 40 to 60 megs depending on the kind and amount of data flowing through the network. You're now going to see double that. So what you'll see is that each computer, if you're running two computers, will now each see 40 to 60 megs of throughput, giving your overall network throughput increase between 80 and about 120 megs. So in that range. In order to measure this throughput of the entire network, you'll need actually two computers, both connected into the network behind the firewall to test the throughput. So you'll need to click both of those speed tests at the exact same time. That'll get you those different throughputs. You'll then add them both together to get your overall network connection throughput of the entire network. So keep that in mind, but it does mean that overall customers will see an increase in IPS IDs throughput. So this second release feature is going to be reporting. So now whenever you get to your main dashboard screen, if you go into account settings, which is located in the top right hand corner, you'll see a settings option. Here up in the top tabs, you will now see the ability to go in and view reports, where you can come in and specify your company name, as well as you can upload a file image for your logo, and then where you want those reports generated to, either on a monthly or immediate basis.
Those reports will then contain information about the network as a whole for the past month. It'll include information about the usage of the resources on the network for that specific customer, which can include bandwidth usage, top talkers on the network, and how many Wi-Fi devices are connected, just to name a few.
The next feature is going to be the way that the dashboard is actually set up. So you'll see here, as soon as you have multiple customers, you'll see the ability to go in and sort by failures or by warnings, or to see them all. That'll allow you to go in and see specific customers with specific issues just kind of right off the bat. You can also show all of the customers at once. And then you also have a search button. If, for instance, you just want to search by their name, you can do so. Down at the bottom, you'll also notice a show spare devices option. This is going to allow you to come in and specify specific devices that are marked as spare. So this is probably going to be inventory that isn't yet deployed. But obviously you have those gateways. Instead of them clogging up your normal dashboard, you can mark them as spare, and you'll see them down at the bottom. To mark a device as spare, what you'll do is go into the specific device, click configure, and then in the bottom left hand corner you'll see a site settings option. of that specific device, you'll click on that guy, and in this customer site option, the same place where you would go in, change the customer name and the site name as it appears on that main dashboard screen, you can also mark it as spare now. So as soon as you mark it as spare, it'll pull it down into that spare list at the bottom. You'll just click save. It'll let you know, give you a warning that it is about to mark it as spare, but as soon as that's done, you'll see it appear in that spare devices option. And then to unmark it or to move it back up into the normal dashboard view with all of your other customers, you would just go back in and uncheck this spare devices option there. Sorting of the dashboard itself. The next feature release is going to be the IP addressing. So we've actually changed where and how you set IP addressings on the LAN scheme. So before, you may have noticed that there was an IP and DHCP button under the site settings option. You'll now notice that in the left-hand pane, so in this left-hand pane here, you see an IP and DNS option. This is going to be where you set the LAN scheme of the gateway. This is going to be where your IP addresses live. So you'll see here all of your IP addresses for the entire network. What I mean by that is all sites located under that specific customer. You'll see all of their IP addresses under this single view. So for instance, you see the Midway office as opposed to the Parker office of this specific customer. That's going to bring you or allow you to come in and specify all of those different security groups under a single page. Up at the top, you'll notice your customer network and group prefix or subnet links. That's going to determine which IP addresses are available for all of these different subnets. As soon as you click edit, you'll have the option to go in and edit each of those individual groups on a per subnet basis. Up at the top, like I said, this is going to determine the customer network as a whole. So this is going to determine your IP scheme of the entire network as well as which subnets are available. To the right of this, you'll see the length of this customer network here. So it's a -16 network. The different subnets will obviously fall within this customer network. So they'll start with a 10.2, and then this per subnets are going to be determined by both this customer network length as well as this group subnet length. The difference between those two is going to give you the range of which subnets are available. Currently, with the -16 network, meaning the first 16 bits are used the customer network as a whole, whereas starting at the 24th bit to the 32nd bit, which part of the IP address are for device specific. And then the difference between these two is going to give you the length of the subnet, how many subnets you can have. So for instance, this is going to give you the third octet or the 8 bits between the 16th and the 24th for those subnets, meaning any of these different subnets or groups located here will have a subnet difference of this third octet. Whenever you click on the specific subnet that you want to configure, you'll see a details option to the right. This will allow you to, first of all, change the subnet again, but also set the DHCP ranges for those specific subnets. You'll also see an enable DHCP checkbox to the left. This will allow you to disable the DHCP server as a whole for that specific subnet. So if you have a DHCP server on site, you'll obviously want to come in and disable that DHCP server as a whole. That's going to be where you turn that guy off. The next feature is going to be the DNS options. You'll notice that DNS option is now at the top of this tab here, as opposed to under the site settings option, as it was before. This is going to be 3 different types of DNS. The first up at the top is going to be dynamic DNS. This is a new feature with Uplevel 3.0 release. So you'll see that dynamic DNS option here. This is obviously going to be on the WAN side, the DNS name of the public IP of the gateway itself. So if that public IP address ever changes, the dynamic DNS will always get you back if you want to find it via DNS name. You can come in and specify either no dynamic DNS name, totally fine. We'll operate the exact same with or without a dynamic DNS. Or you can specify Uplevel's DNS service, or we will act as an agent for both DNS as well as no IP. So you'll see both of those there. You'll obviously have to come in, specify your username, your password, and the fully qualified DNS name. But after that is done, we will automatically up that DNS server as needed if there's ever an IP change. Like I said, we'll act as the agent for those third-party vendors. So we'll always update the IP address. Down at the bottom, you'll also see a local network DNS name. That's going to be the DNS scheme of the LAN side. So that's going to be if you ever need to find a device via DNS name instead of IP address on the LAN side. The last option down at the bottom is going to be the DNS servers that each device is pointed to whenever they request a DHCP IP address. So this will be the DNS server that each device gets handed along with that IP address as it receives it. You will notice that if domain filtering or content filtering is turned on, we will pull that DNS option away since we are handling the DNS for that content filtering to block those DNS requests as they come in. The next option is going to be under the Firewall tab. Now, whenever you click on the Firewall tab, you'll see a Statistics option. This is going to give you a great snapshot of the statistics of Firewall as a whole. So up at the top, you'll see the IPS IDS or Threat Analysis Firewall. That's going to be your deep packet inspection firewall. How many packets it received, how many were analyzed, how many were alerted on and blocked. The second is going to be your port attack analysis for that stateful firewall. So this is going to be the stateful firewall that is blocking any unsolicited traffic from getting in, and how many attacks were coming in illegitimate requests where the initial request was not generated from within the LAN. So that's going to block all of those, and you'll see by country code how many were attempting to get in, as well as what ports they were coming in on, which specific protocol, and how many. So it's a really great snapshot to show clients what exactly their firewall is doing for them. And then down at the bottom, you'll see the domain filtering statistics. This is a snapshot of the domain filtering and DNS blocking as a whole. So you'll see the top categories blocked, top domains blocked, and then same goes for the allowed. The next difference in the 3.0 release is actually going to allow you to come in and create firewall rules that you can use out of a library. So up in the top right hand corner, you'll see a library option now with the 3.0 release. This will bring you to the library port blocking rules. This will allow you to come in and create port blocking rules by adding a new name and which ports to accept and where those ports are coming from. You'll see all of that appear here, and that'll allow you to have those kind of pre-canned firewall rules that maybe if you're using the same kind of VoIP server or same kind of external services that are always needing to get into the network on multiple clients. That way you'll set them once and be good to go forever. After that, you can always go into that specific customer's firewall, and under the port blocking option, you'll see the ability to come in and specify which of those pre-canned rules to use moving forward. So you can come in, specify that specific rule, and we'll automatically fill in everything over here. From there, all you have to do is specify where it's going on the link. The last feature is going to be under Wi-Fi. So we're now allowing you to come in and disable Wi-Fi radios for an access point. If you go into the bottom and click Configure Access Points, you'll notice you have the ability to come in and disable an entire radio on a specific access point as needed, as well as change the transmitting power on that specific access point. You'll notice that that now says disabled to allow you to influence clients onto one access point or one range versus the other. For any questions regarding the 3.0 release, don't hesitate to ever reach out to us at support@uplevelsystems.com. We're more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Thanks so much.